Islam beats Poirier via submission in the 5th round. Dustin Poirier, obviously, after Poirier said, hey, I don't know, this might be it. He told Joe Rogan this might be it. He even said that he went to sleep. Islam put him to sleep for a little bit. They had to kind of wake him up. That's why there was a little bit of the delay. And then obviously Sean Strickland defeats Paulo Costa via decision. And then Kevin Holland defeated Mikel Olesi. I can't even say that name. Submission in the 1st round. That was the guy that got knocked down. Then all of a sudden he gets back up, and then he puts him in an arm bar, and he basically almost broke. I don't know if he did or if he didn't. He almost broke his arm. But Gilbert, just right away, what did you make of the main event, Poirier and Islam?
It kind of went as expected. Poirier, man, tough as nails, heart of a champion, even though he hasn't been an undisputed champion. And it's funny, Fernando, because you could tell the fan or the public wanted Dustin Poirier to, end his career being undisputed champion. We were all pulling for him. I kept reminding myself, don't fall for the fairy tale story. Like, Islam is that guy. He's one of the best pound for pound fighters on the planet. I know Dana White still calls John Jones the best, but Islam is, top 3. So, and he proved it. And the way that Islam was going, he went over to Poirier's locker room to just say, dude, matter of respect, you're tough. I knew what I was going to get myself into, but not like that. So, and I like that Islam is not afraid to trade. He's an entertainer. Yeah, he could definitely be a grappler and a mauler and bring you down. But there were moments where, like, Poirier was catching him. He was like, oh, man, okay, you want to fight like that? He got into it, and it was a good fight. And I'll tell you a quick story, Fernando. I was at a graduation party during that time, and all the guys were on their phone trying to watch the fight. And one of Caroline's relatives comes over. He's like, hey, who do you got? Everybody was saying Poirier. I'm like, you guys are thinking with your heart, man. Like, it's going to be Islam. He's a great fighter. He's like, I'll bet you $10. So that was an easy $10 for me. We're not that easy, but he was winning the fight handily. And then for him to choke him out and make him tap, was pretty easy to get that money too.
There was a couple moments where I thought Poirier he ran out of gas. I thought there was a couple times he caught Islam. I thought he should have came after his eye a lot more. The eye was obviously busted open. I thought he should have came after him a little bit more, but it just felt like at one point Poirier was gassed. Dan kept on getting pissed because Poirier kept on fixing his shorts, and he's like, "Stop fixing your damn shorts." But Poirier showed a lot of heart. It just sucks because, like you mentioned on last week's pod, he's never been a champion. Like, he's been an interim before, but he's never been an actual champion. So that kind of sucked. And obviously Cody Rhodes sent out a thing saying finish your story, and obviously he wasn't able to.
I didn't see that. That's cool.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where you're kind of like, oh, like, too bad he couldn't finish it, because it would have been a really nice story to see him obviously finish it off and be able to get him. But Islam and I thought Poirier did really good with his defense. There was a lot of times where he was trying to get him on the ground, and I thought that Poirier did a great job of stopping him, and he really slowed him down up to that point. And I thought the judges' scorecards showed that the fight was a little bit closer than what I think most people thought, but it was because of Poirier's defense. It was very good, but I thought going into that 5th round, I thought Poirier needed to go balls to the walls and just let it loose, and I didn't really think he did, but it's also because I think he was also nervous, and that's how much respect he has for Islam, where he's like, hey, this guy can come at me 7 different ways, and I'm just not willing to do that. But great fight by both guys. I thought it was definitely interesting to see. I think the crowd is what makes me laugh, Gilbert, because both when you get the crowd into it, they kind of get all fired up, but then they were booing in the Strickland fight. Then they start booing in the Poirier fight. I'm like, okay, what do you want? And one of them, they're standing up almost the whole time hitting each other. And on the other one, they're all mad because they're trading, or they're on the ground in one of them, and then the other one they're trading blows, and they kind of boo on both of them. So it's like it's not Burger King. You can't have it your way or Subway or whatever the hell it is. But we lost Gilbert for a little bit. But definitely, I actually thought it was a good fight. There was a lot of good. It was a good showing by both guys. And now what's going to be interesting is what happens next with Poirier. Is he really, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm good. I'm gonna step away, or is he gonna come back and decide to take one more? Because I think Volkanovski tweeted out a video and he said, "Hey, if you need to find something to do, Poirier, let's run it. Let's do it, you and I." So I actually would like a Poirier and Volkanovski fight, two guys that are kind of towards the end of their careers and everything. So I think it'd be interesting to see kind of what happens. But what Gilbert was referring to about Dana White, you guys need to listen to. You guys need to listen to this. It is Dana White talking about who the best is right now in the UFC.
You know, one of the greatest of all time. I don't think he's. I think he's incredible. I don't think he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. For anybody to call Islam the pound for pound best fighter in the world when John Jones is still fucking fighting is nuts and shouldn't be ranking in the pound for pound or doing any of the fucking rankings ever, if that's what you really think. John Jones has never lost a fight ever. He's fought all the baddest dudes in the world. And then when you think about what pound for pound rankings really mean, he moved it up to heavyweight and destroyed the best guy in the world.
So, yeah, and hold on. So that's what Dana said. Now let's hear what Islam had to say about that.
We were asking him about you, and he was very adamant saying you're not the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world and that John Jones is. And I was trying to push back, being like, you're much more active than John Jones. You're fighting more. And he said, no.
Trying to push back. All right.
Think about that.
I don't know. Maybe it's his opinion, but I think I saved this card today because all these fights boring. And the whole arena almost sleep, and we show with Dustin great performance.
We were asking him about you, and he.
So obviously Islam took a little bit of exception to what about what Dana White had to say. Gilbert, what is your opinion on so basically the last thing I said was that Volkanovski called out Poirier and he said, Poirier, if you want a little something like you and I can get in the ring and do something together, but obviously we don't know what the future of Poirier is. And
as loser goes home match and retirement for both of those guys.
That would be interesting. They both just put their gloves down on the ground and have one last one. But what did you make of because it seems like Dana really protects John Jones a lot, and that's his guy. Like he's been with him through thick and thin. We've seen all the stuff that's happened with John Jones, and Dana stands behind him and he's with him all the way.
I think Dana's maybe focusing a little too much on the resume, the career. Obviously, when it comes to legendary fighter, maybe it doesn't get better than John Jones. When you say that, I get that. But, I guess to the reporter who was pushing it, I don't really need to bring that up in a press conference. But, there's a point there because I think lately in being more active, Islam has been doing it. When Volkanovski, I get that he went up in weight, and maybe that's a crappy part about fighters who are bigger. They get dinged for that. But Volkanovski at the time was, on fire, and they had a great fight. And after that, Volkanovski wasn't really the same. He got older right away. And Islam, he's a versatile fighter who could strike, could bring you down. Like put it this way, Khabib is definitely a better wrestler than Islam, but he wasn't as good as a striker as Islam. Being from the same camp, that's versatility right there and being aggressive. And he's right. He put on a show in that fight. Poirier helped, right, by the way. And we'll get into the Strickland fight. That was a snoozer, and that's not his fault entirely. But for me, I would still go Alex Pereira. Like, to me, pound for pound, going off of boxing is a little bit of resume and a good amount of eye test because they can't fight each other because we have weight classes for a reason. So you got to look at the fighter and, like, when that fighter fights, what's the skill set, how dominant, how much power, how active you are. And Pereira's been holding it down, man. He's a monster. He's a bad, the words, kicks, strikes. Maybe it's not as – there you go. Maybe he's not as good on the ground, but nobody can compete with that guy when it comes to, striking. He has good power. So I'll go Pereira, Islam, and I'll go John Jones 3. But maybe I'm overlooking, what he did a year and a half ago, and then the injury occurred.
So Islam said he's thinking about going up and getting a second belt. Who would he face?
You know what? That might be the last thing for Dana White to actually consider him the best because he respects that when people go up higher. And, that's the crappy part about these weight classes in UFC. They're not as close as the ones in boxing. So
there's a weight disparity.
Yeah, like it's 5 pounds, and here, like, it will go from 155. Maybe I'm not correct, but I'm pretty sure I am. 155 a lightweight, and the next one will be middleweight, which is like 170 or no welterweight. It'll be 170. Sorry, 155 lightweight to 170 welterweight. And what is that? 15 pounds right there. That's a lot of weight to go up. I know Conor McGregor has tried it before when he went from lightweight to fight Nate Diaz at 170, and that size difference it did play a factor into the fight. His power was still there, but you couldn't bring down his guy or knock out guys the way that they used to do. So, you know, Islam does have the wrestling aspect, but imagine trying to get a guy, wrap around a guy who's bigger. He had issues with Poirier, like you mentioned, Fernando. So I would love for him to go up to welterweight. You know, I'm not sure. I don't know if you get a title shot right away. You're going a whole new weight class, but it does happen in the UFC. And I don't think the welterweight class is that strong right now. But to go from 155 to 170 is a difficult task.
Gilbert, real quick, you spoke about it. Sean Strickland obviously defeated Paulo Costa via split decision. Gilbert, this was the scorecard from Dave Torelli. So obviously these other ones, 49, 46, 50, 50, 45, 49 to 46, Paulo Costa. Now, this is what I find incredible, Gilbert, is that this just seems like, and it's not even, he gave Paulo the win. Like, in what world did you see Paulo Costa win? Hold on. It's the first round. He literally won the first 4 rounds. Gilbert, what did you make of it? I mean, I even saw his face. Strickland's face was like, wait, what? He's like, you're giving him, you thought he won the fight? What says you, Gilbert?
First of all, Fernando, my bad for not remembering the welterweight champion is Leon Edwards, who's been on a tear the last few years.
Leon Edwards.
And he needs an opponent. He's been wiping out Covington and Usman. So
him and Islam, that would be a good one.
I'm down for it. But to go off of this, I think Dana White said that the judge should go down to the minor leagues and try it again. You got it. Yeah.
I got it.
That pretty much tells you right there.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's hear what Dana White had to say.
Co-main event, Sean Strickland beat Paulo Costa. There was kind of a weird judges scorecard in there. They gave it to Paulo. I think
it wasn't weird. It was fucking nuts. Is what it was. It's insane. That guy should never ref a big fight again. They should kick him back down to the minor leagues and let him work on his judging. It's unbelievable. I mean, how anybody who isn't an absolute fucking lunatic could call that fight a split decision. I don't even know what to say about that. It's insane.
That's why I like the fight game, Fernando, because if you're a coach or somebody important,
you're gonna get called out
and you criticize the official. Yeah, you're gonna get fined. You get called out. The fight game is a different kind of game, so I do appreciate that from Dana White. And yeah, honestly, I thought it was gonna be a clean sweep. You know, win 5-0. And I remember people at the party were like, you know what, let's shut down the phones and let's actually talk to each other because this fight's a snoozer. You know, we're all waiting for the co-main and the main event. But yeah, you know, Strickland, you know, it's funny because he kind of has that little shoulder roll like Mayweather. He's very defensive minded. He has a shoulder, he has a knee going up every time, but he's an active fighter. So I don't think it's his fault. He was trying to come in and trade a little bit, use his jab. You know, he's aggressive, but I don't know what the
Yeah, I think Gilbert was talking about his defense and the way Sean Strickland obviously uses defense to match up against Paulo Costa, and Costa was a good Costa was just a little bit too timid in my opinion. I remember I was watching that fight and I'm like, what is going on with him? So Gilbert, are you good? Well, while Gilbert figures it out, yeah, no, I thought Sean Strickland, he got him a couple of times, but it was more of a defensive fight, and you could hear Cormier talk about it, and he's like, what? Because in the first round, Costa actually was moving around well and everything, but Cormier said at one point he's gonna get tired, especially if Strickland starts cutting him off. In the second round, that's what you saw. You saw Strickland starting to cut off Costa and not letting him get all over the octagon the way he was in the first round. So kudos to Sean Strickland for being able to do that. But for this judge to come out of nowhere, and see, that's the crazy part. In the NFL, you get fined for talking about officials that way. So for him to talk about an official like that, I mean, you're getting the president saying that. You've never heard Roger Goodell come out and be like, hey, the referees that were in that Green Bay Packers, I know they were backup referees, but against the Packers and the Seahawks a couple of years ago, you guys are a couple of jackasses for calling that a touchdown when it was clearly an interception. But Gilbert, I was just talking about the way obviously Strickland cut the octagon in half in the second round. In the first round, Costa was moving all over the place, and Cormier said it. He's going to get gassed at one point, and that's when Strickland needs to start cutting off the octagon and kind of pick him apart. And I feel like that's what Sean kind of did with Paulo.
Yeah, and to go off of that, like Paulo Costa has had some weird performances. Like, yeah, he's exciting at times, but like he's had a good amount of snoozers. You know, he's had a good amount of losses in his career. They didn't take enough chances there. So, you know, I don't blame Strickland for, you know, his, you know, defensive tactic, but he was like I mentioned before, at the Wi-Fi, or maybe didn't catch it. Wi-Fi went to crap for me, but it's a different story for another day. And, you know, he was throwing punches, jabs, and he was trying to do some counter game with the defensive tactics. So I don't think it's on Strickland. Paulo's just kind of a weird cat. You don't know what we're going to get for him, Fernando.
You know, and you know what Paulo said? He said after the fight, I will bring back the old Paulo to take the heads off to finish the fight. I have the power, so I need to deliver that, and I will do that. I won't give a F points or conserving energy or F anything about that. I will come to take heads off.
No, you should have brought him on Saturday, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of like, you could have done something there, but that official, Gilbert, is just that was crazy to see that.
I was surprised. We turned it off into the main event, and when I saw the scorecards when I got home, I was like, what? Like, he didn't win this unanimous? That was strange.
Yeah. Gilbert, real quick, should combat sports fans be a little bit nervous because we all know that that 303 is coming up. It is the return of the notorious Conor McGregor. Today there was supposed to be a press conference, or Monday, June 3rd, for whenever you guys are listening. June 3rd, there was supposed to be a press conference in Dublin. Conor McGregor tweeted out the event was postponed, and Conor said, in consultation with the UFC, today's press conference was canceled due to this series of obstacles outside of our control. I apologize to my Irish fans and fans around the world for the inconvenience and appreciate all your passion and support. I cannot wait to put on the greatest all-time show in the octagon. Gilbert, should fight fans be nervous that this is just the first step and what potentially could be a canceled fight between, or not canceled, but maybe they bring somebody else for Michael Chandler to fight, or what? Because we saw the videos 2 weeks ago. Conor was partying it up and he was drinking and everything. Is he taking the Ryan Garcia approach, or what do you make of this?
Well, I guess the big question is, like, was this like a PR excuse? Like, hey, it wasn't, you know, us. It was out of our control. It was a facility. It was a city, whatever. Like, you could definitely go to that and just be like, hey, we tried our best. So, but everybody's thinking in the back of their mind, well, Conor McGregor, you know, he's probably not in shape. Maybe he's hungover. He couldn't wake up and go in time. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, Fernando, you know, because you are going somewhere you're not used to. Remember when Dana White was asked about a fight a card potentially occurring in Hawaii? He's like, no way. We don't have they don't have the facility for it. They can't do it. They can't host a mega bout. Maybe something happened with the facility or whatever arena or whatever they want to use in Dublin, in Ireland, that maybe they don't have the same kind of, you know, things that they have here in Las Vegas. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, downplay Ireland. I want to go one day, but maybe it could be something like that. Simple as thing is like, hey, because, you know, when Conor McGregor had his Dublin presser with Jose Aldo, that was the rise of Conor. It was a massive crowd. Now people know who the hell he is. He's a superstar, and these are rare for Dublin. So for him to do that and make an appearance, I bet they're expecting like thousands of fans, and maybe the people were like, in the venue was like, you know what, we can't accommodate all these people, man. Like, let's try something else, and that's what happened.
Well, and that's very disappointing because now everybody has to be thinking like, oh, hey, is Conor not coming back? And especially because they sold that out in what, 5 minutes, the fight, when they bought the tickets and everything. So
I think the statement helped though, Fernando. Like, it wasn't like a training thing, supposedly.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Real quick, before we move on to boxing, Dustin Poirier was asked after the fight, who does he think is going to win that one, Conor McGregor or Michael Chandler? And this is what he had to say.
If Conor comes back anywhere similar to what he was before the injury, I'm talking timing wise, his rhythm, I think he knocks Chandler out. Obviously, I fought them both. I fought Conor 3 times. The way Chandler covers distance with big movements, against a guy, a sniper like Conor, you're going to run into something big, and you can't take those shots. You know, Chandler's had a long career. He's been hurt a lot. I'm not saying he's chinny, but I'm saying you can't cover distance with a sniper like Conor.
So yeah, he said knockout.
That's a
So
good opinion and analysis from a guy who's been in the octagon with both.